Let me ask you something. Have you ever caught yourself saying, "I'll do it tomorrow"? Have you ever felt like you're capable of more, but somehow, you keep holding yourself back? That voice in your head, the one that whispers, "You're not ready yet, you might fail, let's wait just a little longer." That voice isn't your enemy, but it's not your friend either. That voice is the weak version of you. We all have one. It's the part of us that wants to stay safe, stay small, and stay in the comfort zone. It tells us it's okay to settle. That average is enough. That waiting is safer than risking. But there comes a moment in life, a turning point, when you have to decide. Enough is enough. You have to stop playing small. You have to stop blaming your past, your circumstances, or other people. Because the truth is, the biggest battle you'll ever fight is the one against yourself. And the first step to winning that battle? Admit it exists. Most people don't. They deny it. They hide behind distractions, achievements, or excuses. They pretend everything's fine, while deep down, they know something is off. But you can't fix what you won't face. You can't grow beyond the person you currently are if you're still protecting the version of you that's holding you back. So let's call it what it is. It's procrastination. It's fear. It's the inner critic that keeps looping the same lie. You're not enough. And the longer you let it stay in the shadows, the stronger it gets, because weakness grows in silence, in denial, in comfort. But strength starts the moment you say, "I see you, and I'm not letting you run the show anymore." I get it, life is hard. Maybe you've been through things that shook you, things that made you doubt yourself. But don't let those moments define your future. You are not the version of you who gave up. You're the one who gets back up. You're the one who chooses to face the mirror and say, "I won't settle, not anymore." This journey of transformation doesn't begin with some big external change. It starts with a small but powerful decision to stop lying to yourself, to stop pretending you're okay with mediocrity, to stop living a version of life that doesn't align with the greatness inside of you. Because yes, you were made for more. And deep down, you know it. So if you've been waiting for a sign, if you've been hoping for a push, this is it. This is your moment to face that weak version of yourself, not with shame, not with anger, but with honesty. Look it in the eye and say, "I see you. I've listened to you long enough. But today, I choose different." Because you don't overcome weakness by ignoring it. You overcome it by confronting it with truth, with courage, and with relentless action. And once you do that, once you truly face the part of you that's been holding you back, that's when everything starts to change. So don't wait, don't delay. Decide, right now. This is where the new you begins. Let's get real for a moment. We all have weaknesses. Some of us procrastinate, some doubt ourselves, some fear failure so much we avoid taking any step forward at all. And yet, most people won't admit it. Instead, we hide behind a smile. We stay busy. We pretend everything's fine while quietly sinking into a life that feels stuck. But here's the hard truth. What you refuse to confront will continue to control. Your weakness doesn't go away because you ignore it. It grows stronger in silence. It multiplies in the dark. And over time, it becomes the quiet force that runs your life from behind the scenes. If you want to grow, if you want to finally break out of the cycle, you have to start by calling it out. Give it a name. Is it procrastination? Is it fear of failure? Is it self-doubt, perfectionism, comparison, or just plain laziness? Say it out loud. Write it down. Own it, because when you name it, you strip it of its power. When you call it what it is, you stop letting it hide behind clever excuses. Excuses are nothing more than fuel for your weaker self. They make you feel better in the short term, but they rob you of long-term fulfillment. "I'm just too busy. Right now, I'm not ready. The timing isn't right." We've all said those things. But here's what separates the people who rise from the ones who remain stuck. Champions don't let excuses define their reality. They face the same fears, the same doubts, the same obstacles. But instead of surrendering, they say, "This is tough, but I'm tougher. This is scary, but I'm stepping forward anyway." You see, growth doesn't come from perfection. It comes from awareness. You can't fix a weakness you're too proud to admit. You can't overcome a problem you keep pretending isn't there. And let me be clear, acknowledging your weakness is not a sign of failure. It's a sign of strength. It means you're done playing games with yourself. It means you're finally ready to lead your life with courage, not comfort. I've seen it over and over again, people stuck for years. Not because they lacked talent, potential, or opportunity, but because they were too afraid to face the mirror and tell the truth. So let me ask you right now, what's holding you back? Not what might be holding you back. What is holding you back right now, in this season of your life? Don't sugarcoat it, don't explain it away. Own it, face it, speak it, because the moment you do, you shift the power dynamic. You stop being the victim of your weakness and start becoming the architect of your growth. This is where the transformation begins. Not when you read a book, not when you watch another video, but when you decide to stop lying to yourself. No more hiding, no more excuses, no more waiting. That weak version of you, it only survives when you pretend it doesn't exist. But when you confront it boldly, honestly, it begins to die. So today, make this your turning point. Be the one who chooses to be radically honest. Be the one who dares to say, yes, I struggle, but I'm not staying stuck. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be willing. Willing to look within. Willing to be uncomfortable. Willing to stop feeding the version of you that's been holding you back for way too long. Because once you confront your weakness, you give yourself permission to grow beyond it. And that's the beginning of your breakthrough. There comes a moment in every life when something inside you says, I can't live like this anymore. Not in anger, not in fear, but with clarity. A quiet yet powerful voice that whispers, enough. And let me tell you something, that moment is everything. Because change doesn't begin when you feel like it. Change begins when you decide. Not a maybe, not a we'll see, not a half-hearted, someday kind of wish. Real transformation begins with a firm, unwavering decision. Think about it, every breakthrough you've ever had in life started the same way. You made a choice. You drew a line in the sand and said, this version of me, I'm done with it. But most people, they never make that decision. They tiptoe around growth. They wait for the right moment, the perfect condition, or for someone to come along and push them, and that moment never comes. Why? Because the right time is an illusion. It's a trap the weaker version of you creates to keep you from moving forward. The perfect time doesn't exist. You make the time right by choosing to act now. Let me give you the truth, most people won't say out loud. If you're waiting to feel ready, you'll wait forever. If you're waiting for fear to disappear, you'll stay stuck. If you're waiting for approval, you'll waste years. The power to change your life has always been in your hands. And it starts with one bold decision. The decision to stop tolerating what no longer serves you. To stop settling for just okay. To stop playing small in a life that's meant to be extraordinary. I've seen it countless times in clients, in friends, even in myself. Real change doesn't happen in the comfort of wishful thinking. It happens the moment you say, I'm done living beneath my potential. Because when you truly decide, you don't just say I too live it. Your energy shifts, your actions align, your excuses die, your habits change. That decision activates something inside you, a hidden strength, a kind of power that's been there all along, just waiting for permission to rise. And here's the beautiful part, once you decide, you become unstoppable. Not because the path is suddenly easier, but because your mind is made up. You don't entertain doubt anymore. You don't need to debate with your fears every morning. You move forward because you've chosen to. So let me ask you, what would your life look like if you made that decision today? What doors would open? What pain would finally start to heal? What kind of person could you become? Don't wait for life to force your hand. Don't wait for rock bottom to wake you up. Decide before it gets that far. Decide while there's still time to build. Decide while there's still energy left to create. Decide while your dream still breathes, because here's what's at stake. Every day you don't decide, you reinforce the old version of you. The version that waits, the version that doubts, the version that doubts, the version that hopes life will change without changing yourself. But that's not your story anymore. Today is the day you draw the line. Today is the day you say, I refuse to let another month, another year, another decade pass while I wait for the perfect time. Today, you decide to rise. Let's talk about fear. Not the fear of heights or spiders, but the fear that keeps you stuck. The fear that whispers, what if you fail? The fear that says, what will people think? The fear that convinces you to play small when deep down you were built for more. Here's the truth. Fear is the root of your weakness. It's not your lack of talent. It's not your lack of time, resources, or connections. It's fear, quiet, subtle, and convincing, that stops you before you even begin. But what most people don't realize is this. Fear loses its grip the moment you act. You don't wait for fear to disappear before moving forward. You move forward while you're still afraid. That's how you take its power away. Think about it. Every major breakthrough in your life probably started when you were scared. Scared to speak up. Scared to try something new. Scared to take a risk. And yet, you did it anyway, because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the choice to act despite it. But fear has a favorite hiding place. You know where it loves to live. Your comfort zone. That place where everything feels safe, predictable, familiar, but also unchallenged, unchanged, unfulfilled. Nothing grows in the comfort zone. That's where dreams go to die slowly, where your potential stays trapped behind routine and excuses. If you want to grow, if you want to kill that weak version of yourself, you have to get uncomfortable. That means putting yourself in new situations, trying something that might not work, taking that leap even if you're not sure where you'll land. And I get it, your mind will scream, but what if I fail? Okay, but what if you don't? What if it works? What if this scary step is the one that changes everything? See, fear always presents you with the worst-case scenario. But strength asks a different question. What if this is the moment that shifts my entire life? You've been trained by society, by upbringing, by failure to avoid risk. But what you really need to avoid is regret. Regret for not trying. regret for never knowing who you could have become. So here's a challenge. Start asking better questions. Don't ask, what if I mess up? Ask, what if I grow? Don't ask, what if they judge me? Ask, what if I inspire someone? Shift your mindset, and you'll shift your future. You know what else helps? Surround yourself with people who face their fears. Fear thrives in isolation, but it dies in community. Because when you see others doing what scares them, starting a business, speaking on stage, running that marathon, you start to believe you can do it too. Courage is contagious. So today, I'm asking you to do one thing. Take a step toward the thing that scares you. Just one, even if it's small, because that single step sends a signal to your brain, to your body, to your soul, that you are no longer controlled by fear. And when you repeat that step again and again, fear gets smaller and you get stronger. So don't wait for confidence. Don't wait for guarantees. Take the step, feel the fear, and move anyway. That's how you silence fear for good. That's how you take your power back. That's how you become unstoppable. Let me tell you something that might be hard to hear. You are the average of the people you spend the most time with. Not just in how you talk, not just in what you do, but in how you think, how you handle pressure, and how high or low you aim in life. Your environment matters. More than motivation, more than willpower, more than talent, because the truth is, you can have the biggest dream in the world, but if you're surrounded by small minds, it's only a matter of time before your dream starts shrinking too. Now I want you to take a look at your circle. Not just your friends, but your coworkers, your group chats, your daily conversations. Ask yourself, are these people lifting me up, or are they holding me in place? Are they challenging me to grow, or are they normalizing comfort, excuses, and mediocrity? See, the weak version of you. It thrives in a low-standard environment. It loves being around people who validate excuses. People who say, it's okay, no one's doing anything anyway. People who make you feel guilty for wanting more. But if you want to if you're serious about killing the weak version of yourself, you need to change your environment. And no, that doesn't mean you cut off everyone and become a loner. It means you become intentional about who gets access to your energy. Start seeking out people who are doing the work. People who are chasing growth, building discipline, living with purpose. Not because you want to compete with them, but because you want to learn from them. Let me tell you something from experience. When you spend time around strong people, you start seeing new possibilities. You start thinking bigger. You start realizing, if they can do it, maybe I can too. Their habits challenge your habits. Their mindset sharpens yours. Their consistency exposes your excuses. And yes, sometimes growth means letting go. Letting go of relationships that no longer align with your values. Letting go of people who aren't bad, but who aren't going where you're going. That doesn't make you selfish. It makes you serious. Serious about your time, your goals, your future. You don't owe loyalty to a version of your life that's keeping you stagnant. You owe yourself progress. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for both you and them's to grow apart. And here's something else. Surrounding yourself with stronger people doesn't make you less. It doesn't mean you're behind. It means you're smart. Enough to put yourself in a room where your limits get tested, where your standards get raised. So don't shrink to make others comfortable. Don't lower your vision just to fit in. Level up your circle so your mindset can rise with it. And if you don't have those people yet, seek them. Books, podcasts, mentors, online, communities, coaches. You don't need to wait until you're worthy to enter those spaces. You become worthy by choosing them, because the weak version of you, it can't survive in a room full of strong minds. It hates accountability, it hates challenge, it hates being reminded that better is possible. But the strong version of you, it's waiting, it's watching, and it's ready to grow. If you give it the right environment. So today, take inventory of your circle. Choose wisely, because your environment doesn't just reflect who you are, it shapes who you're becoming. Let's get one thing straight. Discipline isn't about motivation. It's not about hype, feeling inspired, or waiting for the right moment. Discipline is what you do when you don't feel like doing it. Because here's the truth, your weak version of yourself. It thrives on inconsistency. It lives for those days when you're tired, distracted, unmotivated. It whispers, skip today. It doesn't matter, but you want to know what separates the person who talks about change from the one who actually transforms. Discipline. Discipline says, I show up, no matter what. It says, my goals matter more than my mood. You see, discipline isn't about massive changes overnight. It's not about waking up at 4 a.m. and running a marathon tomorrow. It's about small, consistent habits that align with who you want to become. 10 minutes of reading, 30 minutes of movement, 5 minutes of silence or meditation. These aren't life-changing in one day, but they become life-changing when you commit to them every day. Because each time you follow through, even when it's hard, you send a message to your brain. I can trust myself. And that self-trust is the foundation of confidence. Now let's talk about chaos. Your weak version. It loves chaos, missed deadlines, scattered focus, no routine. Because chaos gives you an excuse to say, I'm overwhelmed, I can't. But structure kills chaos. And discipline is what builds that structure. Create a daily schedule. Block out time for the things that matter. Your body, your mind, your craft. Stick to it not because it's easy, but because your future depends on it. It's not about being rigid. It's about being responsible with your time, your energy, your life. Because every time you honor your commitment, as small ones, you're building something bigger than progress. You're building self-respect, and that's where the real shift happens. The weak version of you waits for motivation. The strong version shows up with discipline. And guess what? Motivation fades, but discipline stays. It wakes you up early. It shuts down distractions. It keeps you moving even when no one's watching, even when no one's cheering. Discipline is what bridges the gap between dreams and reality. I want you to imagine this. Every act of discipline is like a brick, and every day, you lay one down brick by brick until, eventually, you've built a version of yourself that's unstoppable. That version doesn't break when life gets hard. It doesn't quit when it's tired. It's been trained through repetition. It's been forged through habits. And that version, that's the one who hits goals, not just sets them. That's the one who walks in rooms with quiet confidence, knowing, I've done the work. So if you're waiting for a big breakthrough, start smaller. Start now. Pick one habit. Commit to it daily. Track it. Protect it. Make it non-negotiable. Because discipline isn't just about what you do. It's about who you become in the process. It's not sexy. It's not glamorous. But it's powerful. And it's available to anyone willing to choose it every single day. So the question is, will you choose discipline today? Because the weak version of you, it doesn't stand a chance when the strong version shows up with consistency, structure, and relentless follow-through. Let this be the day you stop depending on motivation and start building discipline. Last, let me tell you something most people learn too late in life. Time is your most valuable asset. Not money, not talent, not connections. Time, because you can lose money and earn it back. You can lose energy and recover. But the one thing you'll never, ever get back is time. And yet, most of us live like it's unlimited. We scroll endlessly on social media. We binge watch shows we've already seen. We spend hours in conversations that go nowhere with people who drain us. Then we say, I don't have enough time. No, you don't have a time shortage. You have a priority problem. If you want to destroy the weak version of yourself, you must become ruthless about how you spend your time. Let me ask you this. If someone followed you around for 7 days and tracked every minute of your day, would your calendar reflect your goals? Would it reflect the person you're trying to become? Or would it expose the distractions you're allowing to run your life? We all get 24 hours. Champions, quitters, dreamers, doers. The difference is how they protect and prioritize those 24 hours. So here's your first step. Cut out the noise. If it doesn't move you forward, cut it. That endless scroll. That Netflix series you've already watched 3 times. That gossip conversation that goes nowhere. They are stealing minutes from your future. And minutes add up. Imagine what your life could look like if you just reclaimed 1 hour a day from meaningless activity. That's 365 hours a year. That's 9 full work weeks. What could you build in that time? A business, a new body, a better version of you. But to reclaim time, you have to learn something powerful. How to say no. Not out of arrogance, but out of purpose. Because every time you say yes to something that doesn't matter, you're saying no to something that does. And let's be honest, many people say yes because they don't want to disappoint others, but in doing so, they disappoint themselves. If your time is constantly being hijacked by other people's expectations, you'll never have enough left for your own growth. So learn to say no with strength. Say it respectfully. Say it with intention. Say it because your future is too important to sacrifice on the altar of people-pleasing. And once you've cleared the clutter, here's the next step. Get intentional. Don't let the day control you. You control the day. Start every morning knowing what matters most. Write it down. Set clear priorities. Don't get caught in the trap of doing what's urgent at the expense of what's important, because the weak version of you, it loves chaos, it thrives in disorder. It keeps you busy, but never productive. The strong version, it's focused. It protects its calendar like its life depends on it, because it does. So here's your challenge. Audit your time. Look at your day like a bank account. Where are you spending? Where are you investing? And where are you wasting? The truth is, time will either be your greatest ally or your greatest regret. You don't need more hours in the day. You need to become the kind of person who masters the hours you already have. Because when you take control of your time, you take control of your life. The weak version of you can't survive in a life built on structure, purpose, and clarity. It only lives in the land of distraction, delay, and drift. But you're done with drifting. Now is the time to decide. Not to be busy, but to be intentional. Not to run faster, but to run with purpose. Your future isn't waiting. It's unfolding with every minute you choose to own. Let me ask you a simple question. How many times have you started something with excitement only to walk away when the motivation wore off? A workout plan, a journal, a business idea, a morning routine. You were fired up on day 1, but by day 5, you stopped showing up. Sound familiar? Here's the hard truth. The weak version of you starts strong, but never finishes. It lives on bursts of energy and hype but dies the moment things get hard or boring. But the strong version of you, it understands something deeper. Success doesn't come from intensity. It comes from consistency, not from going all in one day, but from showing up day after day, especially when you don't feel like it. Because let's be real, motivation is a great way to start, but it will never carry you to the finish line. That's where consistency steps in. See, consistency isn't about being perfect. It's not about doing everything right. It's about doing something right every single day. Think of it like this. Every consistent action is a deposit into your future. A small act of self-respect, a quiet message to yourself that says, I keep my promises, even when it's hard. That's how you build real confidence, not from a single win, but from knowing deep down, I can rely on myself. And let me be honest with you, life will test your consistency. There will be distractions, there will be setbacks, there will be days when nothing goes according to plan. But if you only show up when it's easy, you'll never grow. If you only put in the work when it feels good, you'll never become who you were meant to be. So, what's the answer? Keep showing up, even when you're tired, even when no one's clapping, even when progress feels invisible, because every step counts. Every rep builds strength. Every journal entry sharpens your mind. Every quiet win lays the foundation for something bigger. That's the magic of consistency. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it's not exciting, but it works. It's the bridge between who you are today and who you want to become tomorrow. So, let me ask you this. Can you commit to just one small thing today? One action that brings you closer to the life you want? Because here's the truth. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be consistent. You can miss a day, just don't miss 2. You can stumble, just don't stay down. You can slow down, just don't stop. It's okay to take breaks. It's okay to readjust. But what's not okay? Letting the weak version of you convince you to quit again. Because that version of you, it's comfortable in chaos. It's fueled by excuses. And it only survives when you give up too soon. But when you keep showing up, that weak voice starts to fade. Your habits get stronger. Your identity begins to shift. You're no longer someone who tries. You become someone who finishes. So today, choose consistency. Not because it's sexy, not because it's fun, but because it works. Your dream deserves more than a burst of energy. It deserves your steady daily effort. And you deserve to know what life looks like when you don't give up. Let me ask you something personal. How many dreams have you put on hold? Because you were waiting for the right time. Waiting for someone to validate you, support you, or say, yes, now you're ready. Here's the truth that nobody tells you. No one is coming to save you. Not your boss, not your parents, not your partner, not even life itself. If you're waiting for permission, you'll be waiting forever. Because the weak version of you, it loves to wait. It tells you, I'll start when the timing's better. I need more experience first. Let me see what other people think. But guess what? You don't need anyone's permission to begin. You don't need the world to clap for you before you make your first move. You don't need the stars to align perfectly before you step forward. The strong version of you knows this permission is something you give yourself. Think about it. Every great success story didn't start with a green light from the world. It started with someone saying, I don't need approval. I'm doing this anyway. Let's get real. Most people hold back not because they aren't ready, but because they're scared of what others might think. They wait to feel safe before stepping into their purpose. But here's what I've learned. The safest place to be is in action. Because when you act, you learn. When you act, you grow. When you act, you break the cycle of fear and hesitation. Waiting feels responsible. But most of the time, waiting is just fear in disguise. So here's my question to you. What are you waiting for? Permission, recognition, more confidence. Confidence doesn't come before action. It comes from action. Every time you move forward without permission, you build the muscle of self-belief. Every time you trust your own inner voice, you quiet the need for outside validation. And look, I get it. Sometimes we want to feel seen. We want someone to say, yes, you're good enough. You've got this. But here's the mindset shift. You don't need to be chosen. You need to choose yourself. Because when you choose yourself, you stop playing the game of waiting. You stop shrinking for approval. You stop living on pause. The world doesn't owe you an invitation to step into your purpose. You create that moment with your decision. It's time to stop asking for permission to be great, to be bold, to be different, to take the next step toward the life you actually want. No more checking in with everyone else's opinion. No more asking, is it okay if I try? Yes, it's okay. Yes, it's time. And yes, you're capable. You were never meant to live on the sidelines of your own story. You were meant to lead it. So today, I want you to do one thing. Give yourself permission. Permission to fail, permission to rise, permission to be misunderstood, permission to start messy and figure it out along the way. That's how real growth begins. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a powerful yes from within. So say it out loud. I give myself permission to begin, to believe, to build, to become, and then go. Because the weak version of you will always wait, but the strong version, it acts without waiting for anyone's approval. Let me share a mindset that changed my life. Growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens by challenge. But here's the catch. Most people wait for life to challenge them. They wait until the pressure comes, until things fall apart, until they're forced to act. But the ones who grow the most, they don't wait. They go looking for the challenge. They wake up every day and ask themselves, what can I do today that pushes me just a little further than yesterday? And that question, that daily pushes, what separates the weak version of you from the version you're meant to become. You want to build resilience. Do something uncomfortable on purpose. Speak up in that meeting. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Have that tough conversation you've been avoiding. Say yes to something that scares you. One hard thing a day. That's all it takes. You see, challenges are like weights at the gym. They're heavy. Yes, they're uncomfortable. But they're how you grow stronger, and just like a muscle, your mindset needs resistance to expand. Avoiding hard things doesn't keep you safe, it keeps you small. The weak version of you, it wants easy, it wants predictable, it wants guarantees. But growth lives in friction. Every time you step into discomfort by choice, you're training your mind to stop running from hard things. You're building grit. You're preparing yourself for whatever life throws your way. Because let's be honest, life will challenge you eventually. But when that day comes, wouldn't you rather be ready? Wouldn't you rather say, this isn't new, I've trained for this? That's the power of choosing your challenge before it chooses you. And here's something you need to hear today. Failure is not your enemy. It's part of the process. It's the feedback loop that shows you where to adjust, where to improve, where to dig deeper. So don't avoid failure. Learn from it. Don't fear falling, fear not trying. Think about the people you admire most. The leaders, the innovators, the ones who inspire you. Do you really think they got there by playing it safe? By avoiding discomfort? By waiting for perfect conditions? No, they leaned into the challenge again and again. They failed, they fell, they got up, and because of that, they became someone stronger. And you can too. You don't need to take giant leaps every day. Just one hard step, every day, on purpose. And if you're thinking, but I don't feel ready, good. That means it matters. That means it's stretching you. That means you're about to grow. So here's your challenge. Pick one thing today that scares you just a little, and do it anyway. Not for the result, but for who you become in the process. Because over time, those little challenges, they add up, they stack, they shape you. You become the kind of person who doesn't flinch under pressure, who doesn't run from difficulty, who faces life head on. And that version of you, that's the one who lives fully, boldly, unapologetic ally. So, stop avoiding the hard things. Start inviting them in. That's where your next level lives. Let me say this loud and clear. Comparison is the thief of joy. And if you're constantly measuring your life against someone else's, you'll never feel enough. You'll always feel like you're behind, like you're not doing enough, like someone out there is already living the life you're still chasing. And guess what? That's exactly what the weak version of you wants. It wants you focused on everyone else. It wants you distracted, discouraged, and drained. Because when you're busy comparing, you're not building. But let's pause for a second. Have you ever asked yourself, why do I compare in the first place? We do it because we want validation. Because we want to know we're doing okay. Because we want to believe we matter. But here's the truth. Your value isn't found in someone else's timeline. Your worth isn't determined by someone else's highlight reel. Your journey is yours, and no one else can live it. That person you're comparing yourself to, they've walked a path you didn't see. They've had struggles you don't know. And they're fighting battles you'll never hear about. That's so comparing your chapter 3 to their chapter 15. It's not just unfair, it's untrue. You weren't made to follow someone else's blueprint. You were made to build your own. And when you stop obsessing over where someone else is, you finally give yourself permission to focus on where you're going. That's where power lives. That's where momentum builds. That's where progress becomes visible, not because you reached their finish line, but because you started showing up for your own. So here's your reminder today. Progress over position. Don't ask, am I ahead of them? Ask, am I further than I was last month? Don't chase their timeline. Build consistency in your own. And here's the good news. You can flip the script. You can stop using other people's success as a weapon against yourself and start using it as fuel. Let their wins inspire you, not intimidate you. Let their story remind you that it's possible. Let it prove that success is real and reach a bliff. You keep going. Because what's meant for you won't miss you. Not if you stay focused. Not if you keep growing. Not if you're too busy building to be bitter. And if you ever feel like you're falling behind, ask yourself, behind what? Behind who? There is no race, there is no scoreboard. There is only your life and what you choose to do with it. So today, take your eyes off the timeline, off the feed, off the noise, and put them back where they belong, on your path, on your progress, on your purpose, because the moment you stop comparing is the moment you start living. Let's get honest for a moment. Fear only has power when you give it permission. It doesn't control you unless you let it. But the truth is, most people don't even realize how often they've handed that power over. They think fear is just part of who they are, part of their personality. But fear, it's not a character trait, it's a reaction. And like any reaction, you can learn to respond differently. So here's the first step. Call it out. Name the thing you're afraid of, because what you don't name will continue to control you in silence. Are you afraid of failing? Afraid of judgment? Afraid of not being good enough? Of being seen trying and not succeeding? Say it out loud. Write it down. Bring it into the light. Because fear thrives in the dark. But the moment you shine a light on it, it starts to shrink. And no, you don't need to bulldoze through it all at once. This isn't about being fearless. This is about being brave one step at a time. Let me tell you something I've learned. Every time you face your fear, even just a little bit, you kill the weak version of yourself, the version that hides, the version that avoids, the version that waits for safety, certainty, or someone to give you a guarantee. But here's the thing, the life you want, it lives on the other side of that fear. The dream, the growth, the breakthrough. It's all on the edge of what you're afraid to do. So start small. If you're afraid of speaking up, say one sentence in that meeting. If you're afraid of trying something new, sign up anyway. If you're afraid of being seen, post the thing, share the idea. Step forward, because every time you move in the direction of fear, you take back a little more of your power, and something amazing starts to happen. The things that used to paralyze you, they begin to feel smaller. You begin to feel stronger. And that voice inside that used to scream, "Don't do it," it starts to fade. Not because the fear is gone, but because you've become bigger than it. You've trained your nervous system to act. You've reprogrammed your mind to push through. You've proven to yourself, I can feel afraid and still move forward. And that's the turning point. Because once you learn to walk through fear, you become unstoppable. You don't need to wait for fear to disappear. Move with it, through it, past it. And each time you do, you shed a layer of that weak self. You become clearer, braver, bolder. You become more you. So if you're listening to this right now, wondering when you'll finally feel ready, let this be your permission. You don't need to be ready. You just need to be willing. Willing to name the fear. Willing to take a step. Willing to face the part of yourself that's been playing small. This is the final test. This is where the weak version of you makes its last stand. It will beg, it will whisper, not today, maybe later, but you've come too far to turn back. You fought too hard to let fear win now. So breathe deep, stand tall, and move. One step is all it takes to start. Because when you move, the fear starts to lose its grip. And the strongest version of you, it begins to rise. This is your moment. Face your fear. Finish the fight. And become who you were always meant to be. Let me say something you need to hear. No one is born unstoppable. Unstoppable is a choice. It's not in your genetics. It's not about where you came from or what you've been through. It's about what you decide today, right now, to do with what you've got. Because every unstoppable person you admire, they weren't handed confidence, strength, or resilience. They earned it, and so can you. But first, you have to make a decision. A real one. Not a maybe someday kind of decision. Not a when things calm down type of hope. A firm, clear, line in the sand moment that says, I'm done living beneath my potential. I'm done being ruled by excuses. Because let's be honest, you already know what's been holding you back. The procrastination, the self-doubt, the fear of what others might say, the habit of giving up when things get hard. But here's the truth. That version of you, it doesn't define you. It's just a chapter. And you have the power to close that chapter today. This is where the shift happens. When you stop waiting for life to get easier, and you start getting stronger. When you stop asking, why me? And you start declaring, watch me. Unstoppable isn't about never feeling fear. It's about not letting fear dictate your decisions. It's about showing up even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's lonely, even when no one's clapping yet. You build that strength one choice at a time. One decision to keep going. One moment of courage when backing down would be easier. One more rep, one more email, one more step forward when quitting whispers in your ear. Let me ask you, what would happen if today was the day you decided to stop making excuses? What if you treated this moment as the turning point? Not a soft pivot, but a full-out commitment to becoming the strongest, clearest, most powerful version of yourself. Because that version of you, it's not waiting for permission. It's not stuck in the past. It's not chasing approval. That version of you is already inside. It's just been buried under the noise. The doubt, the delay, the comfort. But you know what wakes it up? Action. Daily, disciplined, focused action. You want to be unstoppable. Then move like it, think like it, speak like it, live like it. Every time you stop explaining yourself, Every time you take responsibility instead of blame. Every time you lead yourself without needing applause. You're becoming someone who can't be shaken. And no, it won't always be easy. But the strongest version of you doesn't need easy. They just need purpose, clarity, and the willingness to keep showing up. So here's the invitation. Close the chapter on the weak version of yourself. Thank it for teaching you, and let it go. That story is over. You don't live there anymore. From this moment forward, be the person who decides to rise, who keeps rising, no matter what, because the world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs people who are committed, people who refuse to quit, people who choose growth every single day. Be that person. Be unstoppable, starting now.